Perfect. Thank you so much for having me, Daniel. I'm really excited about this opportunity and to talk to you all about what I do at Brightside. Um, so a little bit about me. My name is Caroline Fernelius. I am based in the United States. I live in Michigan, so a very cold part of the United States. I actually have a background in English and American literature. So I joined Brightside and started my current role after finishing the third year in a PhD program in English. So I decided to kind of part ways with academia and academic work and go full force into content design, which was a new field to me that I had just started learning about. Before that, I held roles in communications and content more generally at an environmental nonprofit and then at a really tiny education consulting company. I was the fifth employee. A fun fact about me, I have two dogs pictured here, and they're both named after famous poets. So Alfred is on the left side. He was named after Alfred Lord Tennyson. I was taking qualifying exams for grad school at the time and had just read a poem of his. So that was the name inspiration for him. And then this one on the right is Duncan, named after an American poet, Robert Duncan. So a little bit about Brightside before I jump into the content design side of things. So our mission is, as Daniel mentioned, is to improve the financial health of working families. The company was founded about 5 years ago now. And the idea was essentially that so much investment, at least in the United States, is focused on the 20 or fewer percent of American families who don't really need what we've coined financial care. They might be paying out of pocket for expensive financial planners or investment advisors. They're not really at risk of living paycheck to paycheck or not being able to afford retirement or missing days of work for financial stress related reasons. So our founders recognized kind of a gap in the market, and that's where Brightside really started. And we believe that financial health, it makes sense for employers to be invested in this as a topic because it underpins every aspect of employee well-being and productivity. So we try to think about combining behavioral science, technology, and the human touch care to meet employees where they are in the moments that matter the most. And what I've learned in my tenure at Brightside so far is that it's quite different what our financial assistants sort of work with every day. Clients who might be resistant to the idea of financial wellness at first. They know that they need help, but it's not necessarily the same type of client who is going and paying out of pocket for a financial planning service. So this is something quite different. So these are the stats that really undergird Brightside's model. So we noticed that employees in the United States are facing immediate financial challenges. 71% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. I think that number is actually going up. Record inflation in the United States is certainly putting additional pressure on the families that we serve. Student loan debt is a huge topic also in the States. The average student loan debt in 2020 was just shy of 40,000 US dollars. And actually also in the US during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a 3-year pause on collecting these student loan payments. That pause is ending actually next month. So we've been thinking about ways to strategize around this for our clients as well. 35% of Americans have a subprime credit score. So what a credit score is kind of at a very high level. All of your sort of activities in the financial space are reported to 3 different credit bureaus in the United States. So whether or not I've paid my rent on time, if I have a medical bill that has gone to collections, those sorts of things are all reported to these outside agencies, and I'm actually given a numerical score, the cap of which being in the 800s. Many of our clients are in the 400 to 500 range. And what this means to a working person in the United States is that this number is actually used to determine whether or not I have access to credit. If my roof is falling in and I need access to funds so that I can repair it, if I have a subprime credit score, banks might deny my request for a loan. It can also make accessing housing incredibly difficult. Landlords will look at your credit score when determining whether or not they want to rent space to you. So it's incredibly important, and I would say maybe 20 to 25% of clients who come in the door at Brightside, they know their credit score is subprime and they want our help understanding it and improving it, because it can be quite a sort of bureaucratic nightmare to figure out what are the steps I need to take personally to get that score higher. 40% of Americans would struggle to come up with $400 in an emergency. Again, I think that number is increasing. And 72% of American adults stress about money. I've actually seen recent surveys that, anxiety and depression is a chronic issue in American culture right now, but money is the #1 stressor. Above family, above relationships, money is actually the #1 stressor. I've seen that in a couple of different surveys recently. So what employees are getting, and these are from what you have, at least in the American market, as I understand it right now, is you have traditional banks. And some of these banks have partnered with employers to offer kind of financial education or planning services to their typically white collar workers. So again, those people who are maxing out their retirement savings, they don't suffer from subprime credit. They're able to access loans if they need them, but they're focused on kind of building wealth. This is so traditional banks in the United States might partner with employers and come up with programs to kind of accommodate this sector of the market. Things like a 401k is a retirement savings vehicle that a lot of American employers offer. So you might get help with 401k matches if my employer actually gives me some money in my 401k. Advisors who can help me with my investment decisions. So if I have assets under management, online education and seminars, which, as you'll see, something like that's maybe not going to work especially well for working families who are under a lot of strain financially and otherwise. And then tools and calculators without context. So if I'm a really savvy kind of negotiator of these things, I might be able to just use a debt payoff calculator on my own. I might not need someone to explain to me what the numbers mean, or explain to me where in my budget am I going to come up with the $200 a month that I need to kind of enact this payoff plan. So that's kind of what employees are getting. What we found is that what this sector of the market, what these employees want help with, is things that weren't available. So in a money emergency, if I have subprime credit, what has existed and still exists in the United States right now is something called a payday loan. So if I have no access to credit, no banks will give me a traditional loan. I can go to a payday lender and they will give me a loan at an astronomical interest rate, right? I mean, we've seen interest rates as high as 400%, which you can imagine would really cripple someone who is already in the position of taking out this loan to address a financial emergency. They want help with saving and spending habits. Finances can be really emotional for everyone, not just our clients. And so they want someone to kind of guide them in starting a budget and staying accountable to it. Access to credit, we kind of touched on with money emergencies, and then navigating existing benefits. Employee benefits are an absolute monster for clients to navigate. I feel this stress myself. So it can be really beneficial for our clients who are trying to save every last dollar if someone can talk to them, chat to them on their timeline, and explain to them what's available through their employer. Can they get sort of savings on a rental car? Can they get savings on childcare? What's available to them that they maybe aren't taking advantage of at the moment, that could sort of put them in a better financial spot? And we try to do all of that research and legwork for them so that we have the answers for them on the spot. So what is Brightside? Brightside, we consider ourselves to be a fintech. We're very much a startup. So about 5 years old, and we have just shy of, I think, 180 employees at the moment. And about 60 to 70 of those employees are actually what we call financial assistants. So financial assistants are the service agents who are on the phone lines, on chat all day long, building relationships with the clients who call in. And something that's really cool, I think, about Brightside is that once you chat in and establish a relationship with a financial assistant, that's your financial assistant. You're not passed around to different people. You can spend years working with that one person who knows your situation and knows what you're trying to build towards. So we have some in-house Brightside solutions. We do have a savings and a spending account. These are completely free. There are no fees. And the savings account right now is at a 4.33% interest rate. So it's pretty competitive with the market at the moment. We have something called a cash advance. So we saw a lot of clients needing a few extra bucks to stretch to the next payday, and that's where a payday loan might come in. So if I'm a Brightside client, I can actually chat into my financial assistant and get a small cash advance of just $100 on my next paycheck. There's no interest that I have to pay on that. It's just a service to me. And I can select when I want to repay that cash advance. I can put it off for months if I want to. The only really check on that is that you can't take out another cash advance until you repay the one that you have outstanding. So it's really it's meant to support clients who need gas to get to work. They need groceries until they get paid the next week, that sort of thing. We've partnered with different institutions to offer other solutions. So we do offer credit score linking, and this is important because a lot of our clients and a lot of people outside our target market, honestly, have a really hard time understanding the factors that go into their credit score. So we have a platform where you can link that and your financial assistant can walk you through it. We also have paycheck linked loans. So if I'm in that situation where a payday loan might be my best option, I don't have great credit, I can go to Brightside. I can apply for one of these loans with our partner lenders, and the repayments will come right out of my paycheck. And the reason why that's important in the American sort of financial sector is that lenders are more willing to offer these products if they have the guarantee of, well, the repayments coming out of the paycheck. It allows us to offer lower interest loan products to people who may not qualify under traditional terms. Existing employer benefits, so we kind of touched on that. Government and local resources is a really big one. We have clients who call in who are quite literally homeless. And so we have a dedicated research arm of Brightside, and they don't spend time working on the phones and on chats. They just do research about local resources, getting people into shelters, getting people signed up for government programs that they may not know about that can really help. And then consumer solutions. We advise on insurance, taxes, external loans, the kind of whole gamut. In the center here, you see the Brightside financial assistant. We think of this person as a compassionate financial navigator. uses behavioral science and financial models, and provides just-in-time education. And what that means is that anytime during business hours, I can chat in and my financial assistant will respond. If they're out of the office or something like that, you do have an option to chat with someone else just while they're out. But that's your go-to person. They know you. You can speak with them via chat. You can set up call appointments. There's a wide range of flexibility, and this works especially, this kind of asynchronous model works especially well for clients who may be working night shifts. We have clients on schedules that are not 9 to 5 schedules. So this model is kind of developed around that, and knowing that we need to be available and meet our clients where they are. So I do have one video that I want to play that's pretty short and kind of shows you a little bit about the user journey here at Brightside.
Navigating financial headaches can be a hassle, and when it comes to debt, unexpected expenses, and high interest rates, life can get downright stressful. The good news is, thanks to your employer, it doesn't need to be. Hi, my name is Peter. I'm not a bot. I'm a real person who works for Brightside. Together, we create a plan specifically tailored for you that helps you with your money problems. Brightside has teamed up with your company to offer a financial health employee benefit. It's always 100% confidential, and unlike other financial planners, working with Brightside won't cost you a penny. Thousands of working families trust Brightside every day to help them navigate all types of financial struggles. Take Steve, a recent client. He's a hardworking driver who's committed to supporting his family. Over the past few months, life threw Steve some curveballs, a car accident and unexpected medical bills. He watched his credit card debt growing bigger and started to feel uneasy. He fell behind on monthly payments and late fees started piling up. And as if that wasn't enough, his refrigerator broke. When he called me, Steve was overwhelmed. I first helped Steve by finding a low-cost loan to fix his refrigerator. The loan is only available through Brightside. I don't make any money off this loan. It's just to benefit Steve and his family. I even called the repair service to make sure he was getting the best deal. Then we looked at options to refinance his credit cards so he could pay less interest each month and get out of debt faster. As we were talking, we even found car insurance that's a better fit and a less expensive phone plan, both of which saved him even more every month. Now, Steve logs into the Brightside app every couple of days to check his progress, and we talk every few months to help him find more ways to save on expenses, take advantage of employer benefits, and create a cushion in case another emergency situation pops up in the future. Whether you're concerned about an unexpected financial problem or long-term financial goals, Brightside is here to help. To get the most out of your Brightside benefit, call us or download the app today. We'll connect you with a Brightside financial assistant who is ready to help create a financial plan that meets your needs. This is financial care for you.
So this is a client story, and I'll go over this very briefly, but to just give another example of the type of scenario that our financial assistants might be confronting during their day-to-day work. So Brenda is a recent client, and she suffered a house fire, and that was kind of the catalyst to get her financial life back on track. So through linking her accounts and kind of sharing her spending information with her financial assistant, she was able to set up a plan to track progress on a weekly basis. We referred her to different employee assistant programs through her employer, so that she could kind of have a full suite of resources at her disposal. Linked her credit report and talked her through the factors that she could control, and also walking through when negative factors would fall off her report so she could kind of have a timeline in mind. Helped her think through her long-term goal of retirement. So Brenda actually increased her 401k contributions, and just increasing her general confidence with this comprehensive financial education that's really judgment-free and based on meeting the client exactly where they are. So a little bit about the content design team at Brightside. So like I've said, we're a very, very small team. Just generally, the company's very small. We've gone through several reorganizations during my time here, which has been really interesting. So what I call the content design team, we're very diffuse. We're housed in different departments. I think that this has kind of benefits and drawbacks, which we can talk about if people are interested in that. But this is the current structure. So this is kind of a walkthrough of the team and the stakeholders. So I am housed right now on the learning and development team. So we think about sort of equipping our financial assistants with the information that they need at the right time to serve our clients. There's the key players on this team. So the learning and development manager, he focuses a lot on formal training assets for financial assistance. And then the content specialist is me, and I kind of go all over the place, as you'll see in just a little bit. On the product team, we work very closely with the product team. So the colleague I probably am working most closely with is the content program manager, and she is focused on kind of systems management. So if I'm thinking about a content design problem that I want to solve, she's the one who would be partnering with tech, partnering with product to make sure that it kind of aligns with our current capabilities. She'll probably be talking to the engineers, that sort of thing. So she really helps me from a systems standpoint. There are 5 or so product managers who work under different topic areas. So we have a PM for credit, a PM for loans, that sort of thing. I work very closely with the product managers because I sort of need their expertise as SMEs when I'm writing a lot of the content for our financial assistant. So I might be in touch with the PM for loans if we're rolling out a new partner loan. And I need to understand what are the regulatory constraints around how our financial assistants talk about this loan. That has to be baked into the content design. There's also a Thrive financial specialist who is my go-to SME from a financial solutions standpoint. So if I'm thinking about what if we develop a new resource for community resources that our financial assistants can leverage, sort of a database or something like that. The Thrive financial specialist is sort of the go-to person in terms of evaluating whether or not the solution is, from a financial standpoint, advantageous to our clients. Tech ops and marketing are the other 2 teams that I work with almost on a day-to-day basis. Tech ops because I also work on tech support content, and then marketing to make sure that the content that I work on, which is internal facing, so financial assistants use it to talk to clients, but it can quickly become external, right? Because if I'm a financial assistant and I'm chatting with somebody and I'm using the content that I wrote to talk to clients, that gets out to clients. So we need to make sure that I am aware of sort of the brand guidelines that the marketing team has developed and that we're all in sync. So the content design discipline at Brightside supports financial assistants in their day-to-day function. So we help them help our clients. That's why I call it internal facing. So these are some of our key elements that we work on. The internal knowledge base is probably where I spend most of my time. This is a one-stop shop for financial assistants. It is a website design, so we use Google Sites, which is great because it's no code. It's very easy to get content up quickly. This website includes financial health content. It includes product information, tech support content, and systems and procedures content. So essentially everything that I need to do my job as a financial assistant is in this internal knowledge base. CRM workflows are guided question flows that reveal possible solutions. We call them options to discuss with clients. So for example, a new client calls in and they say, oh, my student loans are kicking up next month. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to approach this. How can you help me with this? So a question flow will appear in our CRM that I, as the financial assistant, can kind of go through with the client. So how much debt do you have? Do you have federal, personal loans, or a combination? And it sort of will go through that question flow. And then at the end, based on the responses to those questions, solutions will kind of appear in a table below. So I do work with the product team to write those question flows and the solutions that appear at the end. Saved chats, which we call macros. So these are saved chats in our messaging system that financial assistants can send instantly. It's a huge time saver for our financial assistants. It's great because we have some sort of internal consistency, but it also, in an interesting way, contradicts with our model of offering total personalization to the client. So I think that's something that I think about a lot as a content designer, kind of how can we walk this line? And then Google Drive assets. So we also have to think about the fact that financial assistants, in line with the mantra of total personalization, they do create their own content. So it's kind of interesting thinking about how do we rope that into what we're working on, and kind of make it ensure some level of consistency while also empowering financial assistants to do what they know is best for their individual client. So a little bit more about the internal knowledge base. It's our most comprehensive performance support tool. I'm in it all day long. It's an intuitive website layout, which is really helpful for a lot of our financial assistants. Some watch-outs with this model that I've noticed. Maintaining user trust through frequent changes has been difficult. So something like I've been working with members of the tech ops team recently because they've been getting support tickets on issues that if you go into the knowledge base, you can find the answer that you're looking for, but financial assistants are sometimes like, when's the last time that this page has been updated? Like, how do I know that this is accurate, sort of thing. So we've been working on different strategies to kind of ameliorate that. We implemented a very quick fix, sort of a recently updated bar at the top of every single page, hoping that more transparency around when changes occur will gain some of that user trust back. It's also not the best tool for the in-the-moment dialoguing with clients. If I'm in this internal knowledge base, that's a separate system from the chat system or if I'm on the phone, that's difficult too. I'm kind of reading and talking at the same time. CRM workflows. So this is what I was talking about with kind of a question flow at the beginning, and then you would have options that appear underneath that. So when we design these from a content perspective, shorter is better. That's the feedback that we've gotten from our users, and really we're going through a project right now to condense these workflows even further. Because 9 times out of 10, when our users are working through these workflows, they're on the phone or in a live chat. You don't have time to read entire sentences, and yet we're trying to communicate very complex financial topics. So it's been a difficult challenge. This also doesn't live within the messaging system, but it does live within the CRM that links out to the messaging system. So it's a little bit closer to the kind of environment that the financial assistants are working in. Another challenge is that user compliance can be variable. There's no technical requirement that you fill out this workflow at the beginning of a client interaction, at the end of a client interaction, or really at all. So depending on my level of expertise as a financial assistant, I can kind of rely on my own institutional knowledge. I don't have to go through this workflow at all if I don't want to. So that's been another thing that the product team has been thinking about. A day in my life, going back to that kind of lateral or diffuse content team, I go everywhere. And if you remember back to a few slides ago, there are really only 2 content people in the entire team, although lots of people are touching content every day. So I maintain article accuracy. That's a big thing. We have a ticket submission system, but I'm also talking to product managers all the time. I work on new content development. That could be in the internal knowledge base, but it could also be new workflows that I'm sorting through with a product architect usually. SME consultations and reviews, user research. So something we've implemented very recently is a content advisory board made up of 12 financial assistants who were recommended by their team leads. We meet once a month for more formal dialogue, and they also respond to 1 to 2 polls a week on different topics, and that information has been really helpful to not only me, but also partners on the product team. I also do internal communications. Again, it's a very lean team. So if a new feature is coming out, I would be working with the product team to get that content written, and maybe I'm working on a workflow as well at the same time. And I'm also communicating that out to the financial assistant team. Then I always wish I had more time for this piece, is strategic planning. So thinking about quarterly plans, thinking about how we want to mature this very lean discipline of content design at Brightside. So the future of content design at Brightside as I see it, one thing that we're working on right now is total system integration. So I've talked a lot throughout this presentation about how FAs are toggling between different systems to do their work every day. And this is not ideal for several different reasons. So partnering more closely with the product team to trial and implement a total solution for financial assistance. Ideally, this would be something where if I'm in chat or if I'm on call, I can sort of be one with all of the content resources and have them immediately at my disposal without going to another window or another system entirely. I think AI support will help us achieve this. So AI, we're hoping, maybe not now, but maybe in the future, can do the work of surfacing relevant content to financial assistants in real time during client chats. So scanning an incoming chat, they want to work on debt, and then in a sidebar in the chat system, AI is sort of surfacing for me the most relevant articles or the most relevant workflows that might help me solve a challenge for this client. Client-facing content is the next one. So do we have an external knowledge base? How would that interact with the work that our financial assistants do every day? You know, knowing our target demographic, would these clients benefit from having external resources at their disposal, or is that a mistake? Do we want to just focus more, double down really on the personal interaction between the financial assistant and the client, since that's the bread and butter of our model? And then another thing that I'm thinking about all the time is improved macros or saved chats. What would it look like if I have sort of multimedia saved chats at my disposal? I can send a video, I can send a graphic, that sort of thing, to aid my client in their understanding of different topics. And then some key takeaways to wrap up here. So the future of finance lies in historically neglected markets. I would say that that's been kind of my thesis from my time at Brightside, and I'm really happy that I landed where I did coming out of grad school, because it's opened up sort of my thinking in a lot of different ways. I was reading an article the other day about the fact that 90% of people with disabilities in the United States don't have knowledge of specific financial accounts set up by the government that can help them sort of save assets without regard to asset limitations that are imposed on people with disabilities. So really key problems like that, it's mind-boggling. Second takeaway is that lateral diffuse content teams can pose advantages and challenges for organizations, I think of any size. My experience has obviously been with this kind of micro startup environment, but I think that kind of thinking could extend to organizations of other sizes as well. And then the final thing is kind of a bonus takeaway. We haven't talked about this so much, but move fast and break things, which is the Facebook kind of saying. I think it may be a liability for startups. I think that in such a lean team environment, there's a lot of pressure to move so quickly that we end up kind of redoing a lot of preliminary work that could have saved us time sort of in the beginning. And I think that it can feel like an uphill battle sometimes as a content designer to get other stakeholders on the same page in terms of, maybe this project that you think takes 2 weeks takes a month, 2 months. What kind of mileage can we get out of expanding our time horizon here? That can be kind of a challenging conversation to have. So I will leave it at that. And I will, Daniel, I don't know if you want to take back reins of screen sharing, or I'll just stop sharing at the moment.
It's fine, don't worry. It was really incredible, Caroline. I think fascinating. We will take a look into the Q&A and chat section. Maybe while we get these questions, maybe I would like to address one important point, at least from my side, is that I think you focus especially on employees, right? So imagine I'm an employee for a big organization, or no matter what type of company, and they offer me Brightside as an employee benefit, right? And I was looking and reading about it, like how important is the financial wellness of the employee, right? So this has a direct kind of correlation to the organization impact, right? So if you have employees who are struggling with money, they will not perform great, right?
Exactly. And I think that one key metric that a lot of our customers have looked at on their side is turnover rate. So they've looked at, when our employees have access to a service like Brightside, does that make them more likely to stick around more than 6 months, perhaps? Mm-hmm. How does this compare to sectors of our employees who don't have access to the service? Because a lot of our customer groups will roll out kind of a pilot. So they'll start with 5,000 employees who do have access and then kind of compare. And what they've found across the board is that, yes, having access to your financial assistant, you save more money, and you also are more likely to stick around with your employer. That retention rate goes up quite a bit. And that's really valuable to a lot of our customers. All right. Should I feel free to just jump to the chat?
No, wait. I think Laura was muted. Say again.
I'm sorry. Hey, I just wanted to share illustration of what you were talking about today. I hope you like it. I think the content is quite small here, but we will post it anyway in our LinkedIn group afterwards, so you can all take a look. It's a very nice creative illustration here from our dear colleague. Another question came up in the chat, actually. It's also from our colleague Marissa.
Yeah.
When does a person actually graduate from Brightside? So when is the customer journey finished, in your opinion?
Or what happens next, right?
That's a great question. So an internal model that we talk about at Brightside is the Thrive model of financial wellness. So just in a nutshell, most of the clients who we get in the door are in triage mode. They need access to emergency or critical financial care. And that's kind of what gets them in the door. We might spend months on stabilization. So if you're coming in the door and you need access to emergency cash, you have subprime credit, we might spend months kind of targeting those challenges. And then what the financial assistant is really skilled at doing is building a relationship such that when you are out of that emergency mode, you want to stay and you want to work on things like building up an emergency fund. You want to work on things like retirement planning. We have specific experts on the team who can kind of guide conversations on investments because not all of our financial assistants would work on that topic. So, I mean, we have clients who have been working with their financial assistants for 3+ years. And that's really cool to go over those interactions. And I will say also something that we see a lot is kind of starting and stopping, right? So we have a client in the door and we've made an impact in some way. We've helped them navigate an initial financial emergency. They may go away, but they may come back in 4 or 5 months and want to talk about building a new budget. So that's very much something that we see as part of the typical user journey.
Very nice.
Incredible.
I have one more question for you, if that's fine. Actually, looking at the past couple of years, how have economic circumstances like COVID, inflation, affected your user numbers or actually the types of requests that you're receiving?
Yeah, so I think that there was a point early on in Brightside's life as a startup where we actually kind of decided that based on the challenges facing 60-70+% of working families in the United States, that we really needed to focus specifically on money emergencies and getting really good at helping people reach financial stabilization, because COVID made things worse, and specifically sort of the inflationary environment in the United States the past year or so has been incredibly challenging for our clients. And a lot of the social safety nets that were put in place during the pandemic have also dissolved in the past 6 months-ish. So people are getting less in benefits for food. They may no longer be eligible for rent subsidies, that kind of thing. So it's kind of this perfect storm of feeling like what we're offering to clients is unfortunately needed more than ever. And I don't know when that's going to go away. I mean, I think that the student loans revamping next month is going to be a huge pressure point for our clients. I mean, people haven't had to worry about this for the past 3 years, and now it's a $500 a month payment due starting next month. Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the financial stress, especially for a student, could be quite dramatic. And I wonder, right, like if you have like problems with money, right, and this starts affecting your health, start affecting your relationship with your family, with friends, and then suddenly I call the Brightside agent or the financial assistant, and I was wondering, like, are your financial assistants trained in any way, like, I don't know, in psychology? How do they deal with this? Because it's a lot of emotions, right?
Yes, it is. And we actually, so we have some former social workers on staff, which is really interesting because, of course, that skill set is absolutely in demand when you're working with clients who are stressed in every aspect of their lives, and then a financial emergency just pushes things kind of over the edge. And we have a lot of things that we've implemented internally in order to make sure that financial assistants have time to kind of take care of themselves and take care of each other on their teams. That time is built in throughout the day and throughout the week for that kind of personal care, because the job becomes completely impossible without it.
Thank you, Caroline. We have a question from Valeria. First question was like, are you planning on expanding somewhere else and not just the US? Are there any concrete plans?
So there are no concrete plans that I know of at the moment, but that's very much part of the long-term roadmap of Brightside. We would love to expand globally. I think that expanding in the domestic market is kind of the first step, and then we would love to look overseas after that. So that's kind of a little bit about our expansion plans. And I think we're doing a lot of work right now to just think about how do we scale what we've built already? And that's scalability is top of mind for the design teams as well.
Yeah, so there are huge challenges ahead of you and your team. And
the
second
follow-up,
question.
yeah, I'm gonna read the follow-up. It's a bit related to the graduating from Brightside question. What kind of success metrics do you have for your service? Typically, services want people to stick around and spend money. What do you measure?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I feel really good about the work that I do at Brightside for a lot of different reasons. But one reason is that we don't profit off of sort of helping someone sign up for a loan with one of our partners. We don't get money from that. Where we sort of measure our success is directly in metrics that impact employee financial health. So we have something like we look at in concrete numbers, how much money do we save the clients that we work with, the families that we work with? We record those numbers. So something like if we find a community resource for you that saves you $40 a month on your internet, we'll record that and it'll go towards that metric. Another thing we think about a lot is engagement rate. So if we get you in the door and we're able to work you through an initial financial emergency, how likely are you to come back and still want to talk to us months down the line? We track engagement rate very closely. And we also track savings rates. So out of the people who come to us and talk to our financial assistants, how many of them open the free Brightside savings account, and how many of them opt for an auto savings feature? So you can sign up, you can save as little as $1 per paycheck. But what we want to see is, are we having an impact in terms of driving that savings behavior and hopefully increasing that savings amount over time?
And talking about behavior, right? You are dealing with communication, and words in a way matter. So is there any way that you're treating words in a special way? Like, are you trying to avoid saying this or that?
Yeah, something that has been kind of in internal dialogue for several months now is about the word budget. Is the word budget so scary and so off-putting that we don't even want to include it in any of our communications that go out? We don't even want financial assistants to be thinking about budgets or talking about budgets with clients. Maybe it's an income and a spending plan. Maybe that feels less restrictive, just sort of the psychological implication of the word. To someone who is financially stressed, a budget already feels it kind of has some baggage there with the connotation. So that's just one example. I think that another thing, and it kind of we think about, or I think about at least a lot, and this differs so much from my previous experiences as an academic. When I'm constructing a written resource for financial assistance, I'm like, how do I write a sentence that virtually anybody could read this and understand what it means? And that's the opposite of the kind of like language work that I was doing as an academic trying to become a professor. But that's been really fun for me. And I think in some ways it's a harder task, right? Like, how do I create a job aid that anybody can use? It's really difficult.
And how often are you shadowing your agents? Are you allowed to be, like, I don't know, close to them and observe them?
I do. I also spend, so I shadow them personally. I try to at least once a month. And then I also have access to the full bank of chats. I spend a lot of time every day reading actual client interactions, and that's been a huge source of my learning. So that's a great asset, because the financial assistants are really busy, but I can kind of go behind the scenes and observe those interactions in real time.
Yeah, and then you have the written evidence of what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, it always helps to have the user's opinion and the user's behavior on screen to see for yourself.
Exactly.
All right, so we are getting close to the end of this webinar. At least for me, has been really fascinating, super interesting. I don't know you, Lobro, but I had a great time.
Yes, definitely.
I think you had a long presentation, but you managed to keep us all engaged, I would say. Yeah, as promised at the beginning, here is the 15% promo code for our conference. Feel free to use it in case you have plans on visiting us here in Vienna, Austria. And with that said, Caroline, would you like to say a few more words? Where can people find you, contact you, connect?
Yeah, I would welcome any sort of follow-up conversation or connection. Would love to hear what people in the audience are up to and kind of your takeaways or your questions about the presentation. Always really happy for that dialogue. You can find me on LinkedIn, Caroline Fernelius. There aren't too many of us, so it should be relatively easy to find. And thank you so much for your attendance today. And thank you, Daniel, so much for this opportunity. This was really an extraordinarily fun experience. So thanks again.
Thanks to you as well,
Caroline.
So we will be posting Caroline details on LinkedIn as well as the visual notes. And thank you so much.